This is Ad Infinitum. Ad Infinitum is the award-winning podcast solely focused on audio ads, the creatives who make them and/or the latest thinking that informs them, how the space is evolving, and, my favorite part, a roundup of recent audio ads with analysis by yours truly, Stu Redwine, and each episode's guest. This is Season 3, Episode 16, titled Use the Force.
Use the Force, Luke.
Today, we're talking instinct, momentum, and turning obstacles into opportunities with my longtime friend and collaborator, Michael Olson, creator, showrunner, and head writer of Young Jedi Adventures. Michael, welcome to Ad Infinitum.
Oh my goodness, Stu, it is a delight to be here. I've been listening to your show since it started. I know way more about advertising and audio ads than I think I should. And it's also surreal to be here with you because our relationship goes back since, I don't want to say how long, but since college. And we sort of been in and out of each other's lives that whole time, and it's been pretty amazing. So it's a real treat for me to be here with you, man.
It's special to be here. I can't even imagine if I could fly back in time. So, quick rewind. Biola University, 2 film nerds, the Guerrilla Film Society, Wednesday night meetups, no permits, too much ambition. Why don't you give folks the 60-second version or longer of how we met and why the Guerrilla Film Society mattered to you?
Yeah, I would say the Guerrilla Film Society was the most important thing I did in college. So we went to Biola University, and for those of you who don't know, Biola is a very conservative school. It's kind of a miracle that they had a film school at the time, and it can be very conservative to live there. I think they just recently permitted dancing a few years prior, so if that gives anyone an indication of what the school was like. And one day I was walking through the studio, and I just heard this loud voice doing different voices, using very colorful language, and I thought, oh, that's my person. Like these are my people. And I go in and I find Stuart, and he's got this setup of smoke machines, fog machines going, and foliage, and a guy, I don't remember if this was Dan or not, but a guy in a gorilla suit.
I'm trying to remember if that was I was in the gorilla suit.
That was you. Wait, who was oh, yeah, it was Nick that was the...
Nick!
Yes, yeah. So it was you in a gorilla suit. Yeah. You were also directing the thing, if I recall.
Cool. Well, I mean, dude, when you're directing the thing, you put yourself in the gorilla suit.
Yeah,
I mean, at least I do.
Yeah, and you had Nick had a machine gun or something, and it was just this absurd comedy. I think it was like a promo that you were doing. Yeah. And it looked like you were having so much fun, and that was what hooked me. I was like, this is why I'm here. These are my people. And then I later discovered that you had created and were running the Guerrilla Film Society. And what I loved about that was, at film schools, there's usually a very formal curriculum where sometimes you don't even get to shoot a film until your second or third year. And the Guerrilla Film Society just said, throw that all out the window. We're all going to make stuff now. And it was a group of eager people who all wanted to help each other make stuff and make it now. Don't ask for permission. And that was exactly what I needed at that time. And I think I still carry that ethos, through to me. And actually, when I went into my first pitch with Lucasfilm, we had these Guerrilla Film Society t-shirts, and I wore that t-shirt under my shirt. I was sweating for many reasons, but that was there to remind me to, kind of carry that ethos through it all.
That's so incredible. It matters, the stuff that we put out. Because I showed up at Biola and I just looked around. I was like, where's the film club?
Yeah.
And we don't have one. I was like, we'll start one.
That's your superpower, man.
And it was Sean McCauley, Rob Yeager, who I'm still friends with. Just talked to him yesterday. And we just started it up. And it was Wednesday nights at 9 p.m., which now sounds late.
Yeah.
In the whatever that TV switcher room was.
Yep.
And like you said, and that's the thing that I think to anyone who's creative or in the creative arts, it's you got to make a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
You've got to make stuff.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah. I mean, I think at that time in life, I think in general as an artist, quantity over quality, I think, because quality will come from that practice.
Or as Napoleon said, quantity has a quality all of its own.
Nice.
Yes.
Nicely said, Napoleon.
Yes, which I've heard is the number one successful strategy in combat is outnumber them.
It's funny how that seems to work every time.
Yeah. You've been to my annual birthday paintball parties. You know how that goes, It's
Yes. I've been on the losing side many times.
Exactly. Yeah, when it all of a sudden it's like 10 on 2, that gets pretty rough. Okay. Yeah. So like you said, we came and went out of each other's lives. Part of that's like I moved back and forth to Kansas City a couple different times. When I came back out here in 2012, got back together with you and a couple of other guys from Biola, and started doing backlot lunches.
Yeah.
I can't help myself from naming things.
That's when we had access to backlots, Disney and Warner Brothers.
Yes.
I was working at Disney at the time as an executive, and a friend of ours was at Warner Brothers.
That's right. That was it Tim?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we started doing the backlot lunches, and that was awesome. And then around that time, you picked up Julia Cameron's The Artist Way. Would have been right in that era. Morning pages, artist dates, the whole thing. What shifted for you with that book? Because I know recently you encouraged me to get into it. So what was so impactful about that? Julia Cameron's The Artist Way.
Yeah, just to give a little context, I had been listening to this podcaster. He is a fantastic screenwriter. His name's Brian Koppelman, and he wrote Rounders, and then he created the TV show Billions, and he had this podcast that was for writers. And his backstory was very similar to where I was at that time. When he was in his early 30s, he was an executive at a record label and a frustrated wannabe screenwriter. And there were 3 things that he said that really made an impact on him. The first is Tony Robbins.
Now I am the voice.
Yeah, and he is a huge Tony Robbins fan. And he, in fact, directed a documentary on Tony Robbins on Netflix called I'm Not Your Guru.
He directed that?
Yeah.
It's great. It's kind of a puff piece.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, but that's okay.
Yeah, and I had my reservations about Tony Robbins too. I think like a lot of people did, but hearing Brian talk about him, because he's such an intelligent, well-spoken, incredibly well-read person, I felt like there had to be something here to this Tony Robbins character.
There has to be. Exactly.
Yeah. So I've really enjoyed Tony Robbins' books, and I felt like they've been very helpful. So that was the first discovery. The second was meditation. Brian talked about how, he struggled with anxiety. And so he started meditation. He did a form called Transcendental Meditation, and that turned me on to meditation. And then the third thing was the most impactful, which was The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And that book is basically like a 3-month workshop that you do by yourself, or you can find a writer's group if you want. And she goes through each week with sort of a reading and then certain activities that she asks you to do, whether it's writing about something or putting together a little project or doing something that's risky or that scares you. And the 2 biggest things that she asks is that you do what are called morning pages every day, which is writing 3 pages handwritten. And then once a week, you do an artist's date, which is basically just you going by yourself to do something that you enjoy or that you haven't done before that you've been curious about. So
such as
like going to a museum that I haven't been to, or for me, because I had a little daughter at the time, just going to see a movie for myself, just carving out that time to say, I'm going to go to a movie theater, sit down and spend, these 2 or 3 hours watching a movie, as opposed to working on a screenplay or feeling like I was being busy. Carving that time for yourself and just kind of filling up your creative bucket, so to speak. During that time, when you came back, I was doing The Artist's Way, and there's a section in there where she talks about synchronicity, where when you start to commit yourself to something, whether it's your art or a project or whatever, sometimes it can feel like the universe is coming around to help you. And she does all these exercises to kind of help you keep yourself open to those synchronicities. And I know this sounds woo-woo, but it was during that time where you came to me and said, hey, I need some help writing an ad for something, and I'm willing to pay you. And that was my first paid writing gig. It was, a small, tiny little paycheck, but it was that weird opportunity that happened during those 3 months of me doing that. And at that time, and I still look back at that and think like that was a really big synchronicity, and that kind of made me a believer.
It's just incredible. What did that lead to next?
Well, the next thing that happened was shortly after I was offered the position to be the head writer on Puppy Dog Pals, which doesn't really tend to happen. The normal process to become a head writer of a show is you usually become an assistant to a writer, a staff writer, and then maybe if you're lucky, you become a head writer.
Pause real quick. When we hired you at Oxford Road to write the ads, the radio ads, what was your day job at that time?
I was an executive at Disney Junior.
On what show?
So I managed a bunch of different shows. I did.
So you didn't have one thing you could throw yourself into?
No, it was a bunch and many seasons. So like I worked on Doc McStuffins, but I worked on at that time like 4 seasons of Doc McStuffins, Jake and the Neverland Pirates, Miles from Tomorrowland.
Sophia the First?
I worked tangentially on Sophia the First, although I love that show. I have a big affinity for Sophia the First.
But something wasn't working for you.
Right. I mean, I came out here like so many of us to want to direct and write, and I had the privilege of getting to work around a lot of showrunners and writers and directors as an executive, and it was a fantastic job, but there was still a part of me that felt like I wasn't fully fulfilled.
So what was that real connection of like getting paid to write a radio ad? It's like, you're not going to go write more radio ads. Like that wasn't, so how, like connect that to then Puppy Dog Pal, like how, in your mind, in your spirit, like how did that all link together?
Since I was all in on Julia Cameron, synchronicity and all of that, it felt like the universe was saying to me, you're on the right path. It may not look exactly how you want it to look, but this is an opportunity that was presented to you. Say yes to it. Who knows what will happen?
Like in this daily thing I did where it's the guy calls me out of the blue.
Yeah. Yeah, and it gave me just a little boost of confidence. Just a tiny, just enough. I mean, Dan, killed the ad and killed the confidence, but...
well, Dan has high standards, and as much as I have railed against them over the years, it's made me better. It's wild having unrelenting high standards.
Hey, and the ad didn't go out, and it could have been it's probably a good thing it didn't. So I'll thank you, Dan.
Yes, thank you, Dan.
But yeah, going back to, it just gave me a little bit of wind in my sails and a little confidence, not arrogance, but just, it felt good to do it. It felt right.
Yeah.
And so when literally out of the blue, somebody said, hey, do you want to be the head writer of Puppy Dog Pals? I was just like, I was in the place. I had been practicing, I'd been writing, and I knew I could do it. And I said yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, that wouldn't have happened without The Artist's Way.
The practice.
And I think just the important thing that I wanted to address was the work. Because it wasn't like I just, said hopes and prayers to the universe.
Correct.
And danced around in my underwear or whatever, hoping that an opportunity would present itself. I was furiously working and getting up early in the morning to write day in and day out. And so I felt, and I directed other projects, my own projects, my own scripts. So it wasn't like I didn't know what I was doing. And I'd put myself in a job where I had the opportunity to continue to learn from the very people who had the job that I wanted to do,
I also think there's something to like the Mr. Miyagi thing with the wax on, wax off and the painting the fence,
Wax on, wax off.
Like ideally the stuff that you're doing for practice also has a positive impact. Like waxing the cars was good. He did need to wax those cars. And like painting the fence, he did need to paint the fence. Like it's helpful to get that done. But in doing that, it builds up the responsibility and the discipline.
Yes. Yeah.
And it deflates the ego. So even me writing this thing for 30 days that even I didn't do it perfectly. It took me 80 days. But by committing to it and physically writing with my hand and reinforcing those thoughts, it's like anyone who's watching or listening, like you could do this one, or you could almost do not quite do anything, but something positive, like some sort of affirmation.
Yeah.
And you write it every day, like, or you go through The Artist's Way, like you're doing this work that's also showing I am willing to submit to responsibility, discipline, and accountability.
Yes. I mean, even just working out every day, if that's the first thing you do, if you get up in the morning to go run or whatever, there's something about it when I've been on those periods where I've worked out and you work out first thing in the morning, the rest of the day, I feel like you can conquer the day. And that attitude changing, once you have proven to yourself that you can do hard things, then I think you are ready to do even harder things that have impact and things that matter.
Well, and like admitting that it's hard. Like just now before this, the studio that we're at, Quest Pacifica, I did I was a X-Wing fighter pilot for a Star Wars fan film. So producer Jeff asked me to be in it.
There's synchronicity right there, my friend.
What was good, it's humbling. Mm-hmm. Because what's funny is like in my mind, I'm like, I could have been an actor. But then even just there, it's like him, me, and an iPhone and a couple lights. And I'm like in my head and I'm da-da-da-da, and it's like, if I'm honest. And it's like, this like is a craft. This is a whole thing.
Yeah.
This would take work to do this. And my hat's off to the people that do it and can actually pay the bills and support a family being an actor. Like, are you kidding me? But it's just an example to me of that kind of thing of like, I'm just going to do this and I'll be good at it. It's like, no.
I feel the same way with writing because there's so many people that come up to me and I appreciate it that think that they can just do it. And I do believe that anybody can write, but doing what we do requires craft and requires work to learn, and then that discipline.
I think it takes honesty. And then we'll get into grading some ads. So this is what I mean with that is, here's the thing. Whether it takes, okay, I know to be true that we're programmable, right? We're these eternal spirits that are piloting this programmable computer inside an animal body, right? Wild. Okay, this part's programmable. So I can program it to get outcomes. Okay, there's also just like, talent. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there's luck, whatever you want to call it, where you just are on one. Yeah. And you just crank it out. Just like, or you're on a cocaine bender, you're Stephen Crane and you write the Red Badge of Courage in 11 days. I think it was something like that. It's like Cujo. Like they say Stephen King was on a coke bender when he wrote Cujo, which is about an out of control animal. It's like, so could someone come up to you and go, Mike, I just want to write. Michael, I just want to write. And you're like, well, it takes craft. And then they hand you this thing and it's incredible.
100%.
Right.
Yeah. And okay, there's humility there too, because there are kids who can play the piano better than somebody who's been practicing for 30 years and they're 10.
Yeah, or like Eric Clapton, they say famously, I don't know if, whatever, old wives' tale, but like his second guitar lesson, the guitar teacher goes, I can't teach you anymore. But here's my point.
Yeah.
I was just talking to Jeff about his fan film. I'm like, does it have the juice? Like, is there a story? Is it good? Like we were talking about, there's this Santa Claus film that Esham Nelms has done all the storyboards for all the TV commercials we've done at Oxford Road. And he and his brother made this independent film about Santa Claus called Fat Man. And Jeff and I were talking about it, producer Jeff, and I were talking about it. And the thing is like, it's an independent film. And so it's like, kind of like, doesn't have the scale of Avengers Endgame, but man, it resolves. Like it's got the juice. Here's the point. Esham and his brother, I'm sure, when they saw that, when they felt it, when they made it, they're like, that's it. When I read a good ad and it's there, it's there. It's either there, it's not there. Mm-hmm. That's actually, to me, the most valuable skill. Not whether you're dealing with a savant or not. Because, like maybe there's a kid that does crank one out, or an old person that crank one. They've never written, and can they see that it's on it? And then the real test, like you think of Orson Welles as like, Citizen Kane, and then what? Can they do that again? So if genius strikes, I think then there may be those moments where then you got to go back into craft. But my bigger point that I'm trying to say is just the honesty of when it's good and when it's not, or when it's the best you could do, truly the best you could do.
Are you saying as someone who's a tastemaker or someone who's a creator?
No, I'm saying as a creator.
Okay.
For any of us, that the most valuable skill to me is just the honesty, the self-honesty, or even the honesty in looking at another's work, of that it has, like Rudyard Kipling says about a good poem, it has the click of a well-made box. If we were thinking of boxes, there'd be no ambiguity if the box doesn't close, if it doesn't click.
Yeah.
Satisfactory, all the thought that Steve Jobs put into the dial on
the iPod. Yeah.
When something is that, it's that. When it's not, it's not. End of story. Credits.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about honesty as a creator.
I'm talking about honesty as a creator.
Yeah. And I think, that's something I'm still learning to uncover for myself and my own projects and the things I write, even through Young Jedi Adventures, of learning how to be honest with myself every day and sometimes not being honest with myself. I think
being honest about not being honest.
Yeah.
I'm using it as a lens to kind of get beyond the whether it took you 10 hours or an hour or 10 days or 10 years of working on your craft or not.
Yeah.
I'm putting a caveat, like, of course, if you focus on your craft, I know that's what's happened for me, you will get better. Yeah. But if you were still willing to BS yourself, and like you're saying, that can pop up at any time. And I'm like, well, I've put a bunch of time into this. Why don't they see? And did it? Why me? Where's mine? F you. Like for me, those are the big flag thoughts for me.
Yeah.
Is that if that pops up, it's like, no, dude, because if it's good, it's going to connect with people.
Yeah. And there's a humility. And I think the journey of the artist's way isn't, if you do this, you're going to become successful, because there's plenty of people who do the artist's way and maybe get some fulfillment out of it, out of the experience, but aren't names that we would know. And I think for me, the value of the artist's way, more important than getting the job with you or becoming the head writer on Puppy Dog Pals, was that honesty. Like it takes you through a process of discovering yourself, or just unpeeling those layers of BS that maybe you've been telling yourself. And it's incredibly humbling too. And so I think at the other end of it, yeah, I've run into writers who do say, hey, I can write, and I've been writing for a whole 6 months, and they hand me something and I go, this is amazing. And I don't resent them for it. I actually I know this is woo-woo, but I'm thankful that they exist, that this piece of artwork revealed a truth that resonated with me. And I think there's something valuable there.
Yeah, I think that's the right attitude, an attitude of gratitude. It's hard to be hateful with a playful of grateful. And I'm grateful for you, all the stuff we've collaborated on over the years, like the short film The Joust, Vampire Slayers from Kansas. where you came alongside and helped me craft those stories and put them out, which is what we're talking about here. Is like, you got to make stuff, you got to put it out. I remember sitting down with you at Bob's Big Boys, and I showed you some storyboards for this science fiction epic, Rainfall City. And the amazing part was this. I started that I started playing that with G.I. Joes when I was in grade school.
Man.
Okay, and I created all these characters. But I started, like, I would say, writing it in its final form. It became these storyboards. I never ended it. So when I was like 18 or 19, and that was hanging over my head up to like when I was like 40. And then I finished it. I finally just finished the storyboards. Wow. And just that, it was like I was free. And then like doing the short film, The Joust, and Vampire Slayers from Kansas, working with you, just working on those things and putting them out is like, that's the thing. But in those collaborations, working together, what was that like for you? And where was that in this whole journey of Mike on his way to Young Jedi Adventures?
Sure. Well, I think anybody who's been listening to the podcast this long would know that, you are very much an activator for me in that you created the Guerrilla Film Society. You gave me my first writing job. And I think when you came along with both The Joust and Vampire Slayers, it was at a time where I was kind of waning a little bit in my own confidence and also in my own energy level of writing. I'd been spinning my wheels for almost a decade writing things. And so just to have another collaborator who has got the energy that you have and the passion that you have reignited for me that passion that I have for writing, for creating characters, creating worlds, figuring out story. And so those collaborations gave me confidence, but more importantly, gave me energy because I got to collaborate with you.
Yeah, that's incredible. I remember meeting up with you and John Shimke, who's gone on and he's doing independent films. Like he's doing great.
That's awesome.
And I can remember taking this, like the public transit down from Valencia. I can remember I got turned around. I was in this subway station, like on the Red Line, it's a different one, but I just remember it was this big, like what you'd imagine on Coruscant or something, and then, coming to you guys and like us just like doing it and slogging it out. And I've never really had that thought. I'm having this experience right now of like how much we can help each other as creatives.
For sure.
To like bring something and finish it and get it out. I think that's important. And there's so many avenues. We had Dana Carvey speak at the CAO Summit last summer, like summer of 23. And it was incredible. David Spade and Dana Carvey are right there and we're in this tiny venue and it's like, it was awesome. And he was just talking about like YouTube and how it's like, he's like, I had to do so much work to get on SNL. And he's like, this is amazing. And it was really from a really cool place of just like, you can make anything.
Do it from your bedroom.
And put it out and start getting a reaction and seeing and then adjust. But like the ability to like do your talent show for anybody, for the world is now wide open.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a Star Wars show. Like you can do anything.
And there's a part of me that feels jealous that we didn't have that growing up, but also there's a part of me that's grateful that it even exists at all. And that we get to watch these other creators make incredible things, stupid things that make us laugh. I think it's beautiful. It's an incredible invention.
The internet.
The internet.
A new way to use your computer to communicate, have fun, and get instant news and information.
Okay, I want to get to rating some ads, but first, I wanted to talk about what's happening with Star Wars Young Jedi Adventures. So what's coming up?
So we've got season 3 premiering on December 8th on Disney+. So this is the series finale for the whole show. So for those of you who have been tuning in, all questions will be answered.
Oh, it's so good. So like the team's getting together one last time.
Young Jedi Adventures. May they grow up strong and bright.
Okay, right now I want to go back in time to the Michael and the Stuart of the past, since I was Stuart back in them college days, apparently, and tell them that Michael Olson is going to showrun a Star Wars show with many awesome directors and lead them to victory with Star Wars Young Jedi Adventures. And what I mean by victory is coming home with some Emmys for none other than sound design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable, actually, because
this podcast is all about audio advertising.
Crazy.
It's about sound. So
no, what's been amazing too, sort of a feather in our cap, because this is, as far as I know, the first Lucasfilm production that hasn't used Skywalker sound. And we used Advantage Audio in Burbank just because at the time their Skywalker sound was busy. They were working on a movie and several TV shows, and we're a preschool show, so lower on the totem pole, I guess.
I get it.
But to come home, we've won 2 Emmys for sound design, mixing and sound design, and we just got nominated for a 3rd. So we're hoping for the hat trick.
That's incredible. Congratulations. So when you as a showrunner think about that aspect of the story, is that because you're very sonically minded? You think about sound a lot? Or is it that you turned it over to people that are bringing that special craft to the table? Like, why has that been the thing that is award winning?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's true. Not to sound cheesy, but it truly is a collaboration of both trusting people who know what they do and letting them do what they do well, but also having a clear vision for what it is that I want, and then also what's expected of a Star Wars show. I mean, Ben Burtt, who created a lot of the sound design for Star Wars, iconic. We felt like we needed to live up to that as best we could, to him and to what his team created. And we did work in collaboration with Skywalker Sound. I mean, one of the fun things that they did is they gave us access to their library of sounds. So, if we want a speeder whoop sound, we go in there and grab that and put it in. Yeah, get that whoop, baby.
And all the bzzz.
Yeah. But I mean, every single sound in Star Wars is meticulously thought out. I mean, for instance, our villain, Tabor, he has a ship called the Talon, and one of the designers on their own said, well, Talon, that's a bird. So they threw in Falcon screech just quietly and modulated it a little bit. And so if you listen closely to whenever the Talon is flying through screen, you'll hear amidst all the engine sound, just a slight screech of a Falcon that's just barely being heard. And then each of the kids' lightsabers each have a sound that kind of represents who their character is. Each lightsaber, because you want to be able to know who that kid is just by the sound of their lightsaber when it turns on. So, everything on our show has been meticulously planned and thought out. And, the team that we've had at Advantage Audio, absolutely incredible and definitely deserve those Emmys.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Sounds like you take it seriously. It reminds me this time of year, particularly another Disney property, I suppose, now the Muppets, is the Muppet Christmas Carol. And there's a meme that's something about the director approaching Michael Caine to be in the Muppet Christmas Carol. And he's like, hey, so it's going to be singing and dancing and the Muppets doing a Christmas Carol. And Michael Caine's response is, got it. I'll play it as deadly as a heart attack. And he plays it deadly serious, like he's with humans. And what I'm hearing you, this is a preschool show, and everything you've described about approaching it is I hope this is how all the directors of the adult stuff for Star Wars approach it. You're taking it deadly serious.
Yeah. I mean, look, Star Wars is so important to me. It's a part of my childhood, a part of who I am, a part of the reason I came out, a big part of the reason why I came out here to LA. And of course I wanted to honor it with every choice that we made, no matter how crazy it might seem or, instinctual some of those choices are. There is intention there with everything that we did in that show. And I know that for everybody on the crew.
And it shows. So now let's listen to some recent audio advertisers and see if they are as intentional and as mighty in wielding the Force as you are.
The Force is strong in this week.
All right, bring it on.
All right. So from Magellan.ai, in fact, we have an ad that Michael put together on the break. Michael, could you read us an ad about Magellan.ai before we listen to these top movers and shakers?
Yeah, because I was asking Stu, what is Magellan AI? I've heard him reference it
and I explained it so well, you decided to go to AI to get the answer. So sorry, Magellan.ai. You're like the Google for podcast ads, okay?
Yeah. Here's what AI and I created. In a world where podcast advertising feels like a dark forest, Magellan AI hands you the map. It shows who's advertising where, what's actually working, and helps brands spend their money a whole lot smarter.
Sign me up. In fact, you could sign up for a free demo at Magellan.ai/ad infinitum. Let's get into some ratings, some ads. All right, these are recent top movers and shakers. First one up is Public.com. Here we go.
You're thoughtful about where your money goes. You've got your core holdings, some recurring crypto buys, maybe even a few strategic options plays on the side. The point is, you're engaged with your investments, and Public gets that. That's why they built an investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can put together a multi-asset portfolio for the long haul. Stocks, bonds, options, crypto, it's all there. Plus an industry-leading 3.8% APY high-yield cash account. Switch to the platform built for those who take investing seriously. Go to Public.com and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's Public.com. Paid for by Public Investing. All investing involves the risk of loss, including loss of principal. Brokerage services for U.S.-listed registered securities, options, and bonds in a self-directed account are offered by Public Investing, Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Crypto trading provided by Bakkt Crypto Solutions, LLC. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosure.
Okay.
All right.
The game is afoot. On a scale of 1 to 10 persuasiveness, you're listening to Bloomberg Tech and the public.com ad comes on. Are you persuaded?
I thought that was pretty effective, actually. I liked the simplicity of it.
Wow. Okay.
So I don't know, 1 to 10, I'd say 8, actually.
Okay. Not what we were expecting from Michael Olson,
look,
everybody.
I'm no expert, but I like the simplicity of it, the clarity of it. It wasn't trying to do too much.
Let's see what Audiolytics gave it. I don't normally do this.
6.2 is my guess.
85%.
Oh,
right in the zone. Because
look at me.
What we talk about a lot is clarity has a cleverness all of its own. And it starts out with this, you're thoughtful about where your money goes, and it goes right into it. And there is like a little bit of a snooze button feel to this ad, but sometimes it's like you're caught between two worlds. Like, don't be yelling so, don't be, it's like, let's say you're listening to Bloomberg Tech and your finger's not primed on the button to skip, and it goes into this is pleasant enough that you might just let it roll and you're not going to skip. And there's a lot of information that is laid out here, and they're talking, their whole premise is you're thoughtful. So does a thoughtful person react to, don't be silly with the latest crypto trends. You need to invest with Public.
No, I would skip right through. I'd be
right.
Like, why would I trust this person?
You're actually probably you're such a balanced, reasonable individual.
Yes. No, I really appreciate it. And I think also there's a temptation, even in writing too, without being pejorative, to make your ads or to make whatever it is you're making. I feel this in Star Wars too, to make it so fast, to make sure that you capture everyone's attention with the big spectacle that you forget sometimes. Just telling a simple story, telling a simple fact can be more persuasive than all the bells and whistles that you can put in.
A lot of times frothy emotional appeal does not work.
Yeah.
You just need somebody to lay out the facts of their own experience and see if it lines up with yours.
Yeah. So that resonated with me, at least.
Okay, there we go. Well, you're probably right in the zone. So this next one, here we go, is from the Home Depot. Have you heard of them?
Who?
The holidays have arrived at the Home Depot, and we're here to help bring the excitement with decor for every part of your home. Check out our wide assortment of easy-to-assemble pre-lit trees so you can spend less time setting up and more time celebrating. And bring your holiday spirit outdoors with unique decor like one of our Santa inflatables. Whatever your style, find the right pieces at the right prices this holiday season at the Home Depot.
Oh, the pieces and the prices. Shout out to Jordan Brady, podcaster, commercial director, instructor of the commercial directing bootcamp, and friend. And he shared a story with me a long time ago that they're working on, I think it was Kentucky Fried Chicken commercial. Maybe it was Popeyes. Anyway, the point was that the main brand guy before he left was like, oh yeah, we shot this, we shot that. He's like, now we just need to get the pieces and the prices. And he's like out of there. It's like, just get the pieces and the prices. So I love that this says the right pieces at the right prices. So shout out to Jordan. Look, I have a soft place in my heart for the Home Depot. Josh Lucas's voice, the song, they're able to put seasoning on the song. They even put in Santa ho ho ho. It's hard for me to see them going wrong. I think they do so much right. So that's how Stu feels. From an Audiolytics standpoint, though, this guy came in lower at 74%.
I was going to rate it lower too.
And it's because there wasn't a ton of information, right? Top 3 recommendations are provide data or research to substantiate the gap between offering and competitors, include a unique discount that exceeds what's publicly available on the site, create an event or deadline to justify the urgency of action. And it's like, whatever your style, whatever your thing, come on down. Home Depot, it's Christmas. Shop
Christmas is coming. You better get ready.
As opposed to, the Santa inflatables are buy one, get one free. But so
supplies last.
So that's funny. So what were you I don't typically give the Audiolytics score. Do you know, what was the number? Be honest. What was the number you had in your head?
I would say about 6.
Okay. So we're...
No, not because it was bad, but this is where I feel like everyone who listens to this podcast is going to hate me.
That's okay.
It sounded like every other ad to me. And again, I'm not a professional, but...
And the other one didn't?
No, because it was just a dude talking with some relaxing music.
We're just a couple guys talking.
And it was so clear what that product was and who it was for. Once you got into 3.9 API and started talking numbers, my eyes kind of crossed a little bit. But
3.8% API.
3.9 was close.
It's good.
But the other stuff just sounds like regular ads. And I think just I've listened to so many ads, I'm so attuned to them that I tune them out. So when something sounds different to me, this is just me, my brain, I'm more apt to listen to it or pay attention.
Well, okay. I mean, the next air check is for Peloton from two judgy girls.
All right.
So we're being a two judgy ad experts
I'm sorry,
here.
guys.
All right. Well, let's see how Peloton showed up. Here we go.
Working out post-baby is nearly impossible between the bottles, the naps. Like, did I brush my teeth today? I'm definitely not hitting the gym, which is why I'm so excited for the brand new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus. It's powered by Peloton IQ, and I know it's going to be a game changer for me. It's Peloton's most elevated piece of equipment yet because it actually makes your workout personal. Peloton IQ gives you intelligent strength coaching, tracks your progress, even suggests the weights that challenge you, and the new movement tracking camera, it literally counts your reps and corrects your form so you know you're doing it correctly. And here's what I'm looking forward to: the swivel screen. 1 minute I'm running, the next I can hit a Pilates class, all without leaving my living room. There's no commute, no setup, no excuses. Peloton IQ even builds a personalized plan just for me, classes, instructors, the whole thing. So it's like having a trainer who gets that I only have 20 minutes because the baby's going to wake up. Peloton is built for breakthroughs, even the small ones, like getting in a workout without rearranging your entire life. So if you're in the same post-baby chaos and still want to feel strong, let Peloton do the hard part. Explore the new Peloton Cross Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com. Let yourself run, lift, sculpt, push, and go with Peloton.
What say you?
I liked the relatability of it.
At the end or the
Just
whole thing?
the whole start. You know, I mean, I could see my wife wanting to, listening to this ad when we had our kids. If I were to rate it, I'm going to say 6. It's my guess.
The same
Yeah.
as Home Depot. Okay, I'm going to jump in on this one too. I'm not normally all over it like this, but I think it's because I'm so comfortable with you, Michael. So I want to say, just like regardless of grading, sort of, or I guess part of my grade, part of my observation is like at the end, I loved where it got. So it's like having a trainer who gets that I only have 20 minutes because the baby's going to wake up. Peloton is built for breakthroughs, even the small ones, like getting in a workout without rearranging your tile. Like you buried the lead.
Yes. Yeah.
To me, I was like, that's the juice. Put that at the top and then get into all like this had a ton of information in it. And really, it did a lot right. And for this target and the relatability, sounds like this is the host. The name of this podcast is Two Judgy Girls. So if it is two hosts, what I would have liked is them interacting and saying their names.
Yeah.
Like so that you've got that direct, like, like I'm using this, like I use this and you should too. But from an audiolytics standpoint, I will not be surprised to see that it has a high score. So let's check here.
You think it has a high score?
91%. Yeah. And that does not surprise me.
Maybe it's just I'm not the target audience and I just didn't click with it.
Completely.
Yeah.
I think this is in the same zone as what the first one did for you. I think this one does for its target, and it's got a higher overall score.
Wow.
But what score would you give it not knowing the audiolytics? Or what were you going to give it?
I was going to say a 7 because I thought I enjoyed the hosts. I felt like I could relate to the host a little bit. I think where I knocked it down was just the specifics of the product itself. I think there might have been a better way to describe it in simpler, quicker terms.
Yeah, there might have been. I got a little lost in there. I think, though, that the relatability, it did feel relatable. If I was going to do anything, I'd rearrange it. Like I said, Audiolytics gave it a 91. Top recommendations are provide data research to substantiate the gap between offering status quo or pre-competitors. We've heard this before. It's a common oversight. Include a unique discount that exceeds what's publicly available on the site. Sounds like we've heard this before. Create an inventor deadline to justify urgency of action. So that's interesting. The same optimizations that were put out for Home Depot, though, Home Depot scored much lower across the board because there's even more gaps, but those are like the top ones that you want to go to. So it's interesting. You go, oh, that's interesting. Those are the same optimizations for a 91 as a 74 because those are going to be the most meaningful based on all the performance data and the weighting that we have to go. You need to go there first. 74, even after you did those, I'm going to guess it'd take it up to 85, something like that. There'd be even more work to be done to bring that score up.
Yep. Let me ask you a question about this ad. And because this is what you do, as soon as they started talking about the Peloton IQ, review and they start talking about the details of the product itself, I found myself tuning out a little bit because I felt like I was along with the podcast host. And then something about the way she was describing it didn't resonate with me. It didn't hook me.
Yeah, I think a simple change would be working out post-baby is nearly impossible between the bottles, the naps. Like, did I even brush my teeth today? Peloton is like having a trainer who gets that I only have 20 minutes because the baby's going to wake up. I don't have all the time in the world. And Peloton is built for breakthroughs, even the small ones, like getting in a workout without rearranging your entire life. They give you those breakthroughs with something they call Peloton IQ. Here's how Peloton IQ works and why it's important, like how it, as a mom, I'm able to get in those workouts. X, Y, fact. So I feel great. If you're in the same post-baby chaos and still want to feel strong, let Peloton do the hard part. Then what would be perfect, we'll go, let Peloton do the hard part, figuring out all the workouts that you need just for you. 93% of women who start using Peloton within 2 weeks or within whatever, within a couple of weeks are already seeing the kind of results that they want to see, self-reported. And that's going to be different for everybody. Okay. And Peloton understands that. That's why it's personalized. That's the Peloton IQ. They put the I in IQ. All right.
Boom. It's like you do this for a living, Stu.
It's something like that. It's just anchoring it on personal experience.
Yes.
And so often they get flip-flopped.
Yeah.
And so often the note, but it's an important one, is, where you got to at the end there where you were like making it make sense? You're basically explaining everything you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Put that at the top.
Yep.
Get them excited about the car. And then, in the glove box, there's a 150-page manual.
Yeah. Most people don't want to hear the manual.
They don't start with that.
They don't want to read it. Yeah.
Okay. So last ad is Perplexity AI.
Let me ask you, how much time do you spend every day on a web browser? Clicking, typing, searching, scrolling through endless tabs, it all adds up, right? Well, there's a new AI-powered browser from Perplexity called Comet, and it's completely changing the way we use the internet. Using Comet feels like having a personal assistant living right inside your browser. And I don't just mean giving you answers. It actually does things for you. Comet can click, type, scroll, search, and take action across the web in real time just like you would. It can shop for you, book travel, make reservations, summarize videos or articles, send emails, schedule meetings, and even unsubscribe you from spam. And it all happens while you get back to your day. I've tried it myself, and it's a game changer. For example, I asked Comet to find me a few products across multiple sites and find me the best deal. It handled the whole process, searching, scrolling, pulling up prices, and saved me a ton of time. Pretty cool, right? Well, you got to see this in action. Download Perplexity's new AI web browser, Comet, at pplx.ai/Ruben and let your browser actually work for you. Plus, right now, when you download Comet, you'll get a month of Rumble Premium for free. That's pplx.ai/Ruben. Go now and take back your time online.
What say you?
Oh, man. Well, obviously, I feel like I'm the target audience for this ad, so I'm probably going to be biased. I felt like it was a pretty good ad until he got to the personal example, which felt very general. And it kind of lost me a little bit. But yeah, I'm going to guess this got an 8. I give it an 8.
You give it an 8, or you're guessing what Audiolytics gave it.
I'm trying to guess what Audiolytics.
What do you give it?
I'm going to give it an 8.
All right, mark it 8, dude.
Because I think it told me what it is, why I should want it, what it's going to do for me, where to get it.
All right. Audiolytics gave this one a 92%. This script demonstrates strong persuasive elements with clear value proposition and effective substantiation with his personal experience. The structure follows the 9 key components framework well.
What would Stualytics give it?
I would, if I were, it's hard for me to have something separate from Audiolytics, if I'm being honest.
You have melded with the algorithm.
Yeah, you're talking to a cyborg here. I'd rate this one high. I'd give it 9 out of 10. I mean, this is what, I want to say something though, like 9 to 10 is rarefied air.
Okay.
And like there's this next dimension you could go to, but spirit of the law, this ad is doing everything right.
It feels like it.
And if you trust this host, this is the Ruben Report, and I'm not sure if this is the host or not. That's where a small little adjustment on this. As a host of this show, I have to do a lot of research. I have to do a lot of prep, like anchor it even more in, I use this and you should too. Like where you're saying he's talking about, it helped me find prices online. And you're like, really? Like, let me hear something a little bit deeper. But yeah, this is what you're looking for with a personal endorsement. Mm-hmm. You want to be at, like, to get in the Olympics, you need to be at a 9 out of 10. And now let's talk about taking it to the next level. So I'm saying, like, I'm caveating the 9 out of 10 with, to me, that's the price. Our benchmark is 90%.
Wow.
So like that's what we want to hit, just price of admission. So, okay. So when we stack these up together at the top, we've got Perplexity at 92. You gave it an 8. You gave Public an 8. Audiolux gave it an 85. You gave Peloton a 7 and Audiolux gave it a 91. And I think maybe that one it was so far off you as the target.
Might be. Yeah.
You know, if you were like really trying to put yourself in the mind of the target, you might have given a little higher, but so that one's a little out there. And then Home Depot 74 and a 6. And even though I love Home Depot, there's a lot that ad could do better. This has been incredible. Thank you so much for coming on to Ad Infinitum. We've had an awesome conversation. To land the X-Wing, for the chief audio officers that are listening, what advice would you give them when it comes to their audio ads?
What else could I say but the advice that you gave to me, Stu? Use the Force.
The Force is what gives the Jedi his power.
And I couldn't have said it better myself. In fact, I did.
You did.
You're right. All right. I'm Stu Redwine. This has been a long episode and a good episode.
Thank you, everybody.
Make sure you check out Michael's Star Wars Young Jedi Adventures. And remember to have fun making the ads work. And may the Force be with you.
And also with you.